So I'm Myke Atkinson. I'm the Ward 7 City Councillor. The Ward 7 communities compared to the rest of the city in that they are gridded streets. These were built sort of in the 1960s and before times. In the rest of the city, you really start to see those curvilinear neighborhoods that we see in suburban communities where the streets sort of meander and you get a lot of pie-shaped lots. And those communities really started being built in the 70s. So 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, when the city actually really grew in terms of its population, that's when we sort of saw all of those different communities come on. And they are really all of the wards except for wards 7, 8, and 4. But what we've really learned is that there's a big difference between the gridded streets of the inner city, where you're able to build a fourplex with a 4-car garage on the back and to have that functionally work. And the streets in our curvilinear neighborhoods built in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, where they're pie-shaped lots, they only have front access, there is no back lane. And so the parking and car storage on site won't work in the same ways. The rule set sort of built out and this zoning created for what is now known as RCG, or Residential Contextual Grade Oriented Houses. This is the fourplex, which can also, every house in Calgary, as of about 15 years ago, you're allowed to build a basement suite as part of any sort of dwelling and have that unit as a part of the main dwelling. And so often what we end up seeing is 4 houses on the top with 4 basement suites on the bottom. So that's where, when you hear that of 8 plexes being built, that's really what we're seeing in our inner city neighborhoods. At the doors, I told people that I was not for repealing rezoning. Things are often done in a binary in politics, where it is you're either for or against. And often, actually, the real answer is probably somewhere in the middle. All voters, to a certain degree, can be given the information and come out with a sound decision. When we built the rules around RCG housing, we did not get the rules totally right. We should have learned from the original builds that we were doing in Banff Trail in my neighborhood in Capitol Hill. We should have taken what we learned from those and extrapolated and fixed the rules. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. And so it boiled up into this election issue where it had to come down to a for or against side. Unfortunately, that's really done, I think, a disservice to Calgary, to Calgarians, because we're not having the real conversation, which is how do we build the city for the future, for our kids, for future generations. That's what we need to be thinking about. But instead, we've gotten into a conversation of you're either for repealing rezoning or you're against repealing rezoning. I will absolutely be paying attention to everything that's going on in the public hearing, but there is a big difference for me between the folks that have experienced rezoning, who are going to continue to experience this densification of their neighborhoods and making sure that we center their experience in the decisions that we make, versus those people who are worried about something that might happen to their neighborhoods. And to be honest, as we've learned, probably won't, because their curvilinear neighborhoods do not support the built form that is currently in place around RCG. If we all lived in a 1-block, super high tower, running your water pipe and your roads to that single block would be very easy and wouldn't cost a lot, right? But if every time you bring that tower down, if we bring it down in half and we have 2 towers side by side, well, now we have roads for 2 city blocks. And what we've done is we've just squished those down to single family homes and spread them out. And it is both from this piece of land, this area, it's not generating a lot of taxes, but it's also, on the flip side, costing us a lot. It costs us a lot to build it out, it costs us a lot to maintain it, and it costs us a lot to deliver services within that area. So when you have those 2 things there, you have an untax productive area and you're also costing a lot, then you get to a point where there's just no way to financially sustain that unless you're pulling from other areas. And that's really what we've done as a city. We've created a whole bunch of areas of the city, these sort of sprawled out suburbs that are single family homes that are not generating enough taxes to pay for their own maintenance and upkeep and the services to be delivered within those areas. And the way that we pay for them is with the higher density areas. And it's not to say that we need everything to be super dense. You do need different kinds of housing and mixes of housing within, because people need to live differently at different points in their lives. But we want people to be able to live happy, healthy lives in their communities and stay in their communities and find the way for them to live in a sustainable way that makes sense for the resource that they are taking up. We have to think of really housing as a collective resource. I think when folks are watching the public hearing, we need to just remember that people's experiences should not be discounted. You shouldn't. You need to pay attention to them. There's actually nuggets of truth in everything that is being brought, whether that is because someone has lived beside a development that has taken place and they've experienced that the whole way through. And we can't totally discount the folks who are worried and concerned about what this kind of development is going to do to their neighborhoods. At the end of the day, what are we trying to do? We're trying to build a great city that people love to live in, that people can find affordable housing and build a great life in, right? That can only be accomplished if we're actually all working and pulling together. I'm not interested in doing the easy thing. I want to do the right thing. And the right thing is to make sure that we're actually coming together, listening to those problem points, and finding a way through so that we can address the current housing needs that we have, how we build a city for future generations, and we actually meet the current opportunity that we have as a city. Calgary has a unique opportunity here to address the current housing crisis given the way that we've built out our city. We have to do it in a Calgary-centric way, and we're only going to do that if we actually listen to all the voices at the table, find the pieces in there that need to be addressed, and fix them. If citywide rezoning is repealed, I think it's going to be really bad for inner city neighborhoods. We're just going to see a much heavier burden being put onto those inner city neighborhoods instead of actually sharing out the need for reconstruction and rebuilding of our city across the entire city. This is something that will be solely shouldered on inner city neighborhoods. There is no other municipality in Canada that has the amount of kilometers of pipe per capita as we have in Calgary. And when you think about kilometers of pipe, that's both pipe delivering water to people's houses as well as the waste water being taken away. We also have storm water that goes alongside that. So all of your storm drains and the water being collected from rain and snowfall that has to get out to the river. And that's usually all covered with roads, and it requires gas lines and electrical infrastructure and our internet lines. And it also has all the transit and police and fire that all have to hit that. So it really is a way, when you just look at the water pipe per person, you can extrapolate that out and sort of say, in basically every regard, we are paying more and have more infrastructure to deliver per capita than anywhere else in Canada. That is going to come due at some point, and it really has, right? We've built an unsustainable city, a financially unsustainable city, an environmentally unsustainable city that we now have to reckon with. What I'm hoping, I guess, out of this is that we both have to fix this water main, great. This is something that we need to do. We need to twin this line, but that we take the learnings from this and we apply it across our infrastructure. We sort of see that we need to make this change from a city of building new into a city that knows how to maintain our current infrastructure and do well by the people that are using and existing with the current infrastructure. That's a culture shift that needs to take place, and I'm hoping that this really is a catalyst to us moving from that city of new to the city of maintaining.